right. Good morning, everybody. You know what I always forget to do? I forget to post on social media that we're live. Oops. So, good morning. This is Justice's Waiting Room. This is a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. And I'm a socialist. And hey, that just means I want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. Right now. And then, hey, all I'd ask you ever to do, I try not to ask too much. All I'd ever ask you to do, like that, share that, just says, hey, good morning. We're live with Justice's Waiting Room, a daily podcast discussing news and politics on YouTube, TikTok, and we're not banned for discussing the news, and Clapper as a backup. So, hey, first thing I saw this morning that was like, ooh, can't wait to talk about that. Um, So the last thing I saw before I went to bed every day yesterday was Elon Musk, an investor, a Tesla investor, has asked him to step down. Okay. And then I saw this morning, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Let me find it. Philip Lowe. So Philip Lowe, let's see what I saw this morning. Okay, so there's more. There's a ton of stuff on Philip Lowe. Okay, cool. Okay. And now this Philip Lowe is an adversary to Elon Musk. So what I was looking at right before I came live, he had some new shit. All right. So I wanted to read this to y'all. Okay. This is from somebody that used to be on his team. Okay. Here. Just so you know, I'm not making it up. I always post the links to whatever we're talking about in the YouTube live chat. Okay, so again, I want to iterate. We got to identify who this person is. Okay. He's a Canadian inventor, computational neuroscientist, and mathematician. Okay. He's founder of NeuroVigil, a neurotechnology company. Born in Vienna, Austria. I'm not saying he's like a good person. That's not the point. Okay. I'm not here to carry water for him. From from a SS. Yeah, we need to not use SS. You can just say Social Security. Good to go. I don't want to risk getting banned. The point of bringing up Philip Lowe, okay? So yesterday, this looks like I don't know, Facebook, okay? He says all the shit with Panama Canal was an excuse to invade Panama. Tariffs were just a way to soften up Canada and Mexico before invading them both. National security was just an excuse to invade Greenland. The Alien Enemies Act was just an excuse to detain Canadians and British citizens, including the tourists held in custody without due process, and have leverage over Canada and UK before attacking Canada. Grok was programmed to reveal very little about chatter regarding the invasion of Canada, despite there actually being significant chatter about it on X. The censorship on social media was to keep the people from being outraged, thus limiting their influence on Congress and making the tyranny of the executive possible. There was also specific censorship for people living in Canada to keep them in the dark before the attack on Canada, which is the same reason they want to remove Canada from the Five Eyes. The attacks on university and the free press were just a way to scare the public into silence and submission before calling for martial law and instituting a draft, which is also why senior commanders and JAGs were removed in case Trump used the Insurrection Act against ordinary citizens. Waiving the Epstein files, having a copy of everyone's tax returns, reminding current and former officials he could remove their security by doing that with a number of them, were ways to intimidate the ruling class and keep them quiet and pliable. Incidentally, Putin used such techniques to initially scare rivals and detractors. The president is deeply compromised. Trump does not work for the American people, he works for Elon Musk. This was also evident from the Tesla infomercial he did at the White House. The vice president, who he met through Peter Thiel, was chosen by Elon and works for him too. He is the one who first scolded Zelensky and who snubbed the German chancellor to meet with the AfD, which Elon supports. Putin spoke to Elon repeatedly and gave him access to Starlink terminals over Ukraine against dirt, which they assume is money laundering Epstein past or current affiliations with Russia. To control Trump, USAID paid for those terminals and was investing Starlink. Doge was an excuse to kill USAID and a number of other agencies regulating Elon's companies, which included CFPB, which was overseeing the Tesla loan program and was to regulate X's payment system. Elon used Trump to burn classified USAID records. And then last, Putin and Elon made a deal whereby Elon would use X and his money with the assistance of J.D. Vance to push nationalists in Europe. Anyway, so this Philip Lowe guy used to be a crony of Elon Musk, and now he's his adversary. Okay, and just know that's not his first shot across the bow. Okay, that that shot by Philip Lowe last night, kind of exposing all this shit. That's not even the first time Philip Lowe's gone at Elon Musk's head. Okay, he went a couple months ago. He'd done the same thing. Okay, so in yeah, and yeah, if you look up, if you go on Reddit anyway, and you just search on the homepage for Philip Lowe, you'll see where 2 months ago he went at his head. He was already talking helly shit. You just look up Philip Lowe. 2 months ago, he posted an open letter on Facebook calling him out. So here's from January 24th, right? It's March 19th. Okay, so it's 2 months ago. He said, I have known Elon Musk at a deep level for 14 years. So he's super tight with this dude. Okay. I've known Elon Musk at a deep level for 14 years, well before he was a household name. We used to text frequently. He would come to my birthday party, invite me to his parties. He would tell me everything about his women problems. As sons of highly accomplished men who married Venuses, were violent and lost their fortunes, and who were bullied in high school, we had a number of things in common most people cannot relate to. We would hang out together late in Los Angeles. He would visit my San Diego lab. He invested in my company. Elon is not a Nazi per se. He is something much better or much worse depending on how you look at it. Nazis believed that an entire race was above everyone else. Elon believes he is above everyone else. He used to think that he used to think that he worked on the most important problems. When I met him, he did not presume to be a technical person. He would be the first to say that he lacked the expertise to understand certain data. That happened later. Now he acts as if he has all the solutions. Remember, I told you absolute power corrupts absolutely. Okay? Then they tried to undermine can't see it. NV, I think, which I don't know what NV is. Elon did two Nazi salutes. He did them for five main reasons. He was concerned that the Nazi wing of the MAGA movement, under the influence of Steve Bannon, would drive him away from Trump, somewhere in the Eisenhower Executive Office building rather than the West Wing, which is where he wants to be. He was already feeling raw over the fact that Trump did not follow his recommendation for Treasury Secretary and that the Senate also did not pick his first choice. He was also upset that he had to go to Israel and Auschwitz to make up for agreeing with Nazi sympathizer online and wanted to reclaim his power. Just like when he told his advertisers to go fuck themselves. This has nothing to do with Asperger's. There are some Jews he actually hates. Sam Altman is among them. He enjoys a good thrill and knew exactly what he was doing. His narcissistic self was hoping the audience would reflect his abject gesture back to him, thereby showing complete control and dominion over it, increasing his leverage over Trump. That did not happen. Bottom line, Elon is not a Nazi, but he did give two Nazi salutes, which is completely unacceptable. Now, for the few whining about my posts, sans connaissance the cause, and either trembling about my having shattered their illusions about their cult leader, thinking I am defending Elon, my point is that he is transactional rather than ideological. That being said, I am not defending him or his actions. I'm just explaining them and confirming that he did, in fact, do two Nazi salutes. If anyone has doubts or believe the doctored footage of Taylor Swift doing the same thing to normalize what Elon did, at some point, it matters to few people if one is a Nazi or if one acts like one. My father was a Holocaust survivor. 32 out of 35 of his family members were murdered by Nazis. My mother's grandparents were murdered in Auschwitz. After Elon tried to manipulate NV's stock in 2021, I fired him with cause, and he was unable to exercise his stock options. In the aftermath of the Nazi salutes, I told both him and his wealth manager to fuck off. Any remaining friendship between us ended with the Nazi salutes. He's blocked on my end, and I'm pretty sure I'm blocked on his. I did not share what he told me in confidence. I just happen to know him extremely well, the person, the aspirations, and the Musk mask. I know who I am, have no desire to be famous, and give exceedingly few media interviews. I prefer to work in obscurity, and I let the work speak for itself. I am certainly not envious and would definitely not want Elon's life, including living in a bubble and having to make one outlandish claim after another and manipulate the public, elections, and governments to shore up my stock and prevent the bubble from bursting. Unlike Elon, I'm an actual scientist, an inventor, and I am not pretending to be someone I am not. Like a fellow who got his BA in econ at 26, all of a sudden pretending to be an expert in mechanical engineering, chemistry, rocket science, neuroscience, and AI, and keeping the people actually doing the work hidden and paying people to play online games in his name to appear smart and feed his so-called super genius personality cult. The imperator has no the emperor has no clothes and he knows it. I'm just very disappointed in what happened to someone I had a lot of deep admiration for, and the first person to find out about my concerns about his behavior was always him. He is the one who betrayed a number of his friends, including Sergey, and given his actions, many other people who believed him and believed in him. I have no sympathy for this behavior, and at some point, after repeatedly confronted it in private, I believe the ethical thing to do is speak out. forcefully and unapologetically, whatever the risk may be, so as not to be part of the timid flock remaining silent while evil is being done, including propping up far right governments around the world in part to deregulate his companies to become the first trillionaire and otherwise to rule the planet. He knows Mars won't be terraformed in his lifetime, and he really wants his planet. No joke. Ethics matter. People matter. The truth matters. I took down Descartes, and I am definitely not afraid of a so-called inventor whose greatest invention is his image. I will not be silent. You should not be either. I am a sovereign individual, and so are you. I stood up to bullies, and am stepping out of the dark to do it again. Stop working for him and being exploited by him. Sell your Tesla and dump your Tesla stock. Nikola Tesla was a great, creative, and courageous man who led with ethics and by example, and he would not have wanted for his good name to have been used by him and would agree with my principled stance. Sign off of X, which is boosting far-right propaganda, and get off Starlink as well. He's a complete cunt who doesn't give a shit about you, only about power. Just ask Reid Hoffman. He only wants to control, dominate, and use you. Don't let him cut him and his businesses out of your and your loved ones' lives entirely. Remember, he is a total miserable, self-loathing poser, and unless you are too, he will be much more afraid of you than you should ever be of him. He will probably come after me, and I am completely fine with that. I am a self-made multi-billionaire with an armada of lawyers, literally, and most importantly, I know who I am and who I stand for. The people and their freedoms when whatever happens. He can send his dumb proud boys and oath keepers after me, and they will be butchered on sight. Either way, I would rather die with honor than live as a coward. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Elie Wiesel, Holocaust survivor and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Yeah, my hope is that he can't get anyone to sign up for the Mars project and he has to go himself. That's my hope is that by the time he gets into a position to try to put a ship on Mars, no one will go. And he wants to be in control of NASA and decide what NASA does too. And clearly, I didn't know that he had a bachelor's in econ, which tells you everything you need to know. It's all transactional. It's all about money. All those claims he wrote. No, he's Canadian, and he's a Jewish Canadian person. Yeah. And he's been hitting it pretty hard, pretty consistently for a long time. Speaking of Tesla, right off the bat, Tesla's been removed from the Vancouver Auto Show. Yeah, right. Well, a lot of people I think are realizing that they're kind of powerless, right? There's nothing you can really do at this point, but just wait. And it's like, what are you waiting for? Like, what outcome sounds? Yeah, yeah. Canada shut down Starlink. Canada took Tesla out of the Vancouver Auto Show. Um, one of the things that I saw, I know, right? One of the things that I saw, um, that I was just kind of like, I think everything's gonna be okay. is people are starting to speak truth to power. People are starting to get in front of elected officials and call them cowards and say you work for your constituents, you don't work for these billionaires. Why aren't you saying anything? And again, I just want to point out they work for billionaires, all of them, Republicans and Democrats. I'm not saying that they're the same. I'm saying they both take money from big business, and there are small exceptions. And the Democrat Party is certainly cleaner than the Republican Party. The Democratic Party cares where it gets its money, and Republicans don't give a fuck where they get their money. Why? Every Republican elected official took money from Russia. That entire party is compromised. The problem that I have is that it is being normalized, and their ability to take money from foreign entities and that impact their policy making decisions gives me the same amount of trouble that all of the politicians that are funded by AI PAC, all of the Democrats. There's 100 elected Democrats that take money from AI PAC. Okay. And again, I'm not equating Russia and Israel. They're evil similarly and differently. I'm aware. There's a difference between invading a sovereign neighbor and starting a war and committing a genocide. Those, yep, you're right. Those are two fucking different fronts. And unfortunately, the United States pays for them both. So the US has stopped and started and stopped giving money to Ukraine. The US, without a shadow of a doubt, for the record, a lot of people are very confused about some shit, and I want to make sure my audience understands this because it's pretty clear that you don't. Okay? We don't give other countries money unless we give them money. When you see we we allocated billions in weapons and ammunition and fighting vehicles, what this means is let them buy off our supply. And we take the money that we give them, so like the money we give Ukraine, we're not actually giving them money. We're giving them a coupon to shop using our old weapons, ammo, and fighting vehicle stockpile. They ain't getting new shit. We are. What we do is we take the money that they spend on our old gear and we get to invest that in new technology and gear. Gonna go. And even when the fight's important, like Ukraine, keep this in mind. The weapons and ammo and fighting vehicles that we sold to Ukraine are like 3 generations back. And Ukraine's wiping the fucking floor with Russia playing defensively. So again, I know a lot of people seem confused about this, and they're always like, "Oh, we keep giving money to Israel, keep giving money to Ukraine," and it's like we didn't give them a dollar. We did. That's not how that works. I know that that's difficult to understand. I know that it's difficult to understand. It's like giving someone a coupon book and saying, "We'll sell you our old shit if you need it." Russia has even older equipment. The tanks that Russia was rolling out in this invasion, from what I understand, were made in the 50s and 60s. So, yeah, I'm sure y'all get it, and you're like, sure, Jared, that passes logic, but it should have an impact on how you think moving forward when you see the way we spend money militarily worldwide. We spend money on our own military. When we give Ukraine and Israel, and again, I'm not equating Ukraine and Israel. I'm also not equating Ukraine and Israel. Uh, we treated them both the same. Yeah, old weapons, ammunition, and fighting vehicles, including aircraft. They're never they're not buying top of the line shit. Good to go. And also, as someone that was on active duty in the Marine Corps during a time of war, also didn't get new shit. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. There are very specific units in the military that get good gear first. Um, oh shit, that's funny. But your transpo, anything that moves is gonna be pretty good because it's got to carry people, right? But I'll never forget the first the first M16A2 I ever put my hands on. That whole fucking thing from nut to butt, that whole fucking thing just rattled like crazy. Not when you were shooting it. Just like I'd be walking around with that shit pinned to my waist, and somebody say, "What the fuck is that noise, Malak? What's wrong with your gun?" And I'd just be like, "Yo, this shit is rat-tat-tat-tat." And so I remember, like, after the first range I went to while I was on active duty, my staff sergeant was like, "Come on, Malak, me and you are going for a ride." We went back to the armory and they traded in my A2 and got me a M4. And of course, like, when you go from an A2 to an M4, it's, how do I explain that to people that have no fucking clue what I'm talking about? It's like fighting someone with a bow and arrow versus fighting somebody. It's night and fucking day. It's not even close. Now, it doesn't have the same max effective range, but if you think about the application I came from, where that shit was just like, and I'm not even talking about pulling the trigger. I'm talking just like naturally in the wind, this shit just was rickety. Um, yeah, I got an M4, but I had to actually fire rounds out of that A2, and I just giggled. I just giggle and stand up and put my hand up. Like, so I gotta talk to somebody, son. Like, what the fuck? Hey, I just want y'all to know I got a 242 out of 250 at Incheon Range in boot camp on day one. Like, I show up hot. That's how it works. You don't get to decide what happens when I pull that trigger. I know what's gonna happen. But that bullet did not even hit the fucking target. Like, that bullet was nowhere the fuck near what I just shot at. I'm pretty positive this rifle's ruined. And my staff sergeant was like, "All right, Malai, we're gonna have to get we gonna have to go get you a real one." And for the record, I at M4, I if I remember correctly, I got taken off the firing line because I changed rifles, if I remember correctly. And then when I came back, I was on a new application and had to use it. And then if I remember correctly, I ended up shooting sharpshooter with a brand new rifle, which is like I could have pizza boxed that shit and shot like shit, and I didn't. I think I got a 212. And long story short, the A rated M16 has a longer barrel and therefore a longer a max effective range. That means the bullet flies straighter, faster, and it hits what you aim at. Not the one I was issued. And then when I got the M4, it's just a little shorter. Um, and you work into proficiency with an M4. So yeah, I say all of that stuff to say about the military and shit, just to point out, like, we're not giving Ukraine and fucking Israel brand new shit. We're giving them old shit, and we're not giving them money. We're appropriating funds for them to pay us to take this shit off our hands so we can go get new stuff. Okay? I just want to make sure we say that because there's people that are like confuddled. You know what I mean? People see people see that on shit on TV and it blows their mind where they're like, "Oh my God, we're full blown supporting a fucking genocide." People don't realize, like, as far as Israel goes, we do need we got to talk about it. We got to make sure the audience understands that shit too. As far as Israel, um, First of all, you have AI PAC, so you have an American Israel Political Action Committee in the United States that supports um, politicians. So Israel's going to get favor because of AI PAC. Hakeem Jeffries, for example, them being unwilling to call it a genocide in Gaza for the longest time. Let me explain my theory on pistols from the perspective of a Marine infantryman during war. Let me explain it like this. Before I ever qualled with a pistola, I had qualled on two different M-rated rifles. I had gone through saw Mark 19, saw, 50 cal, toe, javelin, not the dragon, the small, fucking shot the AT4, qualled with the AT4, had thrown grenades, had gotten through boot camp, through AIT, to the fleet, through most of a workup, and with about 2 months left. So think about this. About 2 months left before you ever get on the boat. Hey, Malott, how come you haven't had a pistol qual? I'm guessing that every other thing that they could hand me does more damage. That's the only thing I figured. And they were like, good to go. You think you've got enough? Like, I think I got enough. And they were like, okay, and we're going to send you to pistol training. That was the last thing. That was after I went to demolition school with engineers. So if you ever, in your brain head, if you ever wondered, like, why the fuck doesn't he care about pistols? Because the whole purpose of the Second Amendment was so that we could take up arms against a tyrannical government. And just so you know, that tyrannical government right now is attached to the military, and the military has fucking drones. Oh, by the way, did you know? And this is a little ditty I picked up because I was on a boat. Did you know if there's not a person flying the plane, they can put more weapons on it and more powerful weapons on it? And you can fly the plane crazier without a person on it? That's coming. Well, you would call that a drone. I would call that an unmanned fighting vehicle, right? That's not a drone, right? Drones, when you think drone, you think surveillance. I'm talking about, then I guess there are predator drones. Those are remote controlled. Yep. And they're not more heavily uh, armed than a regular fighter jet, like a F-18A through C. So did you hear what I said? You could put more weapons, more higher power weapons on that plane when there's not a person in flying it. And you can fly it fucking crazier and shit when there's not a fucking person in it. This is a problem I have with a world that's bent on violence is that y'all don't understand the human we are made of paper mache, my dear. Yep. We are absolutely not in the fight in the future. It's it's gonna be almost all robots and remote control. hmm Oh, 100%. You'll always need operators. You'll need people to go house to house and shit. So you'll need grunts like me. You'll need ground pounders. But remember, half of the shit that I just told you explodes when it hits you. So like, I won't be anywhere near them. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why I always tell people, like, a lot of people think when they feel like they're in danger, they want to arm themselves. I'm gonna go out and get a pew pew. And the problem with that mindset is that it's the quickest solution, right? You'll feel more safe, sure, when you have a firearm, but you'll never be in more danger. This isn't a PSA about blowing your brains out and shit. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm just talking about is that shootings don't happen if the gun's not there. And it's the ease of access. It's the ease of access to the firearm that causes the shootings. I mean, think about, one of the things that I can't help but think about pretty consistently is do you guys remember the shooting in Vegas? Where the guy put like from a hotel room put like 500 rounds into a crowd of people, and it was awful. That shooting doesn't happen if they're not allowed to have that big old fully automatic weapon. And for the record, everybody out there wanting to ban the AR-15 for the Armalite rifle and all the clones, which includes M-rated rifles, like I'm talking about, those are typically single fire weapons, and they can be modified to be nearly automatic. And sure, you can make and buy them to be automatic, but as someone who's put thousands of fucking rounds through that frame, it was not meant to be fully automatic. That weapon is going to tear up. I'm just, I get it. The people that, there are people out there that swear by it and are like, I want me a fully automatic M-rated rifle. And I'm, as someone who's put thousands of fucking rounds through an M-rated rifle, it absolutely was not meant to be fully automatic. Now, before the A and the M rated uh rifles, M rated M rifles, like the M16, M4, right? And I had a A4, A2, A1 before that, and then before that there was the M13. That was fully automatic. But it didn't shoot NATO 5.56, okay? And NATO 5.56 decompartmentalizes when it hits its target. It comes apart in your body while it's still moving. Hmm. But yeah, I just want to make sure we talk about every now and then. Just gotta talk about it. And there's a reason that I'm like, you gotta get 8 hours of sleep a night. You probably need to take a nap. You need to drink water, eat right, exercise. That's so you could wear body armor. That's so you could protect your chest. And not have like a big old gut so you can't wear one. And then I'm not really big on telling other people to go out. I mean, you notice again, we don't talk about like the brands of weapons and like what to buy and stuff. We don't do that. And there's a reason why I'm just like, hey, you probably need body armor. I'd rather you have a riot shield. I'd rather you buy I'd rather you get a pump. You know what I'm saying? Also, I want to point out that Chuck Schumer does not want this smoke. Just so you all know, okay? Chuck Schumer went on MSNBC last night and he does not have it. Okay. Hmm. It's profound what you found out, Jared. Yeah. Are you talking about what I was reading to y'all this morning? Yeah. I want this on a t-shirt, by the way. If anybody wants to buy me a present, I'll tell you what I would currently like. I want this on a t-shirt. I just posted it in the chat. It says some people like capitalism, everyone else likes a living wage. So, if anyone. Oh, and by the way, this one's for all those people. This one, that last link there's for all those people that in their mind were like, both sides are the same INRI, Israel, right? What, no matter who's president, what happens in Israel is going to be the same. The link I just shared in the chat is to a Palestinian giving their account of their treatment in Israeli internment camps, and they're being tortured. So just just so this one's for everyone out there that were like, "Oh, it's two sides of the same coin." Is it now? Is it now? If I recall, right before the last administration went out of power, didn't Bernie Sanders put forward a bill trying to stop all of our investment into Israel? Weren't they weren't they trying to? And now we're like buddies with them, and they can do no fucking wrong. When's the last time you heard Donald Trump say BB? Right? You haven't. He's not even Bill Burr going fucking through it, calling out billionaires. I'm glad that Bill Burr, for the record, I'm glad Bill Burr is one of us and not one of and not more like Louis C.K. I hate to say it like that. Um, for the record, I've been really hesitant to ever support Louis C.K. because he's a fucking weirdo. And as a result of the sort of fallout from Joe Rogan, I've been really hesitant to like white male, white cis male comedians, right? Because you never know, like if their if their material is troubling, or what they're doing off stage is troubling, and again, that's one of those things where Louis C.K. on stage, in my opinion, he was most of the way there. Like he was doing good material. His material is good. But then you find out he's a weirdo off stage. That takes you off him, right? In my opinion, as someone who actually has written material and been up on stage dozen times, I get it. I didn't spend years on the road grinding like all everybody else. Sure, sure. But one thing I learned is that no matter what you do on stage, you got to be able to go to sleep. I got to get up and work tomorrow, right? Otherwise, you become hard to root for, right? Oh, he's burning the candle at both ends. He's writing material. He's doing stand up, and then he's partying all night. He's on the road all the time. Like he's just got bad habits. It's gonna be right. Um, Louis C.K. again, like I said, his material on stage, he was getting there. He was doing good, but then off stage, found out he's kind of fucking weirdo. Bill Burr, similarly, his material is getting there, right? Where he's a really good comedian. And then, one of the things you got to find out about Bill Burr early and often is he's married to a black woman, and has been. And again, the reason Bill Burr is not fucked up, and the reason Bill Burr is going on these late night shows shitting on fucking billionaires is because he's married to a successful black woman, right? And she'll absolutely make sure her fucking husband is not a piece of shit on national television. That shit is not happening. And then, of course, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. And keep in mind, to speak on actual comedians, Louis C.K., Bill Burr, okay, we can then go back to Joe Rogan just to make sure that we say it out loud. I watched Joe Rogan's podcast before I had ever seen his stand up. Gotta go. So I was not about him as a person because here's why. He doesn't know anything. You ever watched Joe Rogan's podcast? He don't know anything. He's like dumb, actively stupid. And then what you hope, the man is actively stupid. I hope he's got great material because his great material will carry him. And again, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot to judge other people's shit, given that I've done it too. I kind of felt like Joe Rogan's like a half-assed comedian. He really isn't about this life. Tony Hinchcliffe is a better comedian. Joe Rogan has to exist so that the world could find Tony Hinchcliffe, who was far funnier. But the problem is Tony Hinchcliffe went into Madison Square Garden on January, what was that? November, no, it was October 20th. He went to that KKK rally at Madison Square Garden and made all those really racist jokes and exposed himself to the world being like a little shitbird. Okay. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, if there's no Joe Rogan, there's no Joey Diaz. And again, Joey Diaz is someone doesn't have it together off stage, and then when he gets on stage, his comedy's okay. Sure, well, he's all right. I'm not. He's okay. That's how I feel. Like, real comedians, people that are actually funny. Bill Hicks. There's plenty of newer comedians that are, I was a big fan of Neil Brennan, the guy that helped write the Chappelle Show. In terms of white boys, there's just not very many. If you really think about it, I literally told you Doug Stanhope, Bill Hicks, Neil Brennan, Bill Burr. Last days of his real career. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Hey, it's scary time to be alive, man. Look at this shit. Lawyers say ICE disappeared 48 New Mexico residents. Forcibly disappeared from their communities. They so they kicked 48 people. They're doing whatever with these 48 people. Only 21 of them. Yeah, it's a serious human rights violation. Oh, you remember how we were talking about yesterday morning? We were talking about this Minnesota representative that put this bill forward trying to classify, um, put a bill trying to classify Trump derangement syndrome as a mental disorder using the government, which is fucking crazy. Um, so we talked about that yesterday. That this again white male in Minnesota submitted a bill to make Trump derangement syndrome an actual a medical diagnosis. Okay. So one of the things to point out is Minnesota is democratically run, and so that shit is never gonna pass. I get it. Sounds fucking crazy. Could potentially keep us up at night. Real talk though, that guy got arrested for soliciting a minor yesterday. So, yeah, yeah, he's trying to get as much support from Donald J. Trump and this administration as possible before it comes down the hatch that he's a weirdo. So, yeah, he turned out to be a sex offender. Again, I hate to keep saying it, but it keeps being true. Every accusation's a confession. Hmm. Every accusation's a confession. I just want to make sure everyone knows that the Republican Party is full of predators, grifters, traitors. Yeah, one of the things that I kind of pride myself on is I don't think we actually spend, and I don't think we talk about Donald Trump enough, right? Like, I don't think I talk about Donald Trump at all because we're talking about the news. So we end up talking about all kinds of stuff, right? I think Donald Trump is on his last leg. I think that he's hanging on by a thread. I think that Elon Musk's running shit. Donald Trump just fucking lives here. You gotta go. So I get it. I've definitely had people be like, your show ends up not even being fucking political because you're not really talking about fucking American politics. It's just like, well, Donald Trump ain't doing shit. What he's doing is not politics. Making a bunch of executive orders and presidential orders, which are akin to a suggestion. I've learned. Did you know executive orders and presidential orders aren't binding? Did you know this? They're not law. So not only can Donald Trump sign all these fucking executive orders and presidential orders, he's pissing in the wind. There's a reason that he spends his time on a fucking golf course away from everything and everyone because he doesn't have the power he thought he had. That's not what the president's for. So remember, every time he fires people so far, that's all been determined to have been illegal. Remember USAID that they're dismantling and fucking Marco Rubio's like excited that they've almost completely dismantled USAID. Yeah, yesterday a judge said all those firings were illegal, all those people's jobs need reinstated. Oops. Okay? And again, when you aren't popular and you also don't have the power that you thought you had, you're just gonna have to go home and win a golf tournament in your own backyard, probably your last one, right? And again, so far that was already declared illegal. Albie, I don't know about the Social Security, but I know the FBI agent firings that they've been getting back on the job. The USAID thing was yesterday. Yeah. And so what I think happens is all those people he fired, they just go right back to work. I know things will never be the same, Jared, but yeah. I just wins what, CC? That's what I really want to know. What has Donald Trump done prior to running for president that makes you be like he's a successful person? All of his business ventures failed. Have you ever listen? There's enough older people in my audience. Air traffic controllers too. I think the FAA management, like the investigators that he fired and shit, I'm pretty sure they got reinstated. And I think all the not the temps, they don't do temporary air traffic controllers. All the probationary controllers, I think very recently got reinstated. They locked out the Institute for Peace, which is fucking that was a crazy story because it was like Elon Musk showed up at the Institute of Peace, was locked out. They called the police to be like, "Help us, Elon Musk trying to break into the Institute of Peace," and they let him in. Remember, those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Hmm. Can they take Musk out of the White House? I think he's going to do that on his own. I think, again, one of the things that I've said this whole time, this is the leopards eat face party, and it's all leopard. And at some point, Donald Trump is going to wake up one day and not be able to remember who Elon is. And Elon's going to get too close to him. Remember how Donald Trump just had to get a microphone to the face? Just like that. Elon gets too close. Donald doesn't know who you are. Yeah. Yeah, they fired people that work at the nuclear plants and then had to call them panicking, like, no, 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 you got to come back. You got to come back. Yeah, that's shit leadership. Hmm. I mean, if you ever watched, here's the real talk, the bottom line. If you ever watched The Apprentice back in the fucking day, one of the things that got me off of Donald Trump was he was firing the wrong person. Like every show, you're like, that isn't even the fucking guy. Whatever, Don. Like that was the show. For the record, it was Donald Trump making a terrible fucking personnel decision. So understand, they're out here claiming wins, and I'm out here saying, what win? What win? What have they won? What have the Republican Party won? Oh, you won the presidency? Marjorie Taylor Greene's still talking shit? That's your victory? Okay, what has Donald Trump done since he's been in office? Yeah. Yeah, I was a kid. I can't remember what was after The Apprentice. What TV show was on after? What came on after The Apprentice. In the lineup. I'm trying to remember. There was a reason even that I watched The Apprentice. It's because there was a show I wanted to watch after that, but I can't remember what it was. Because didn't it come on at 7? Anyway, I want to say it came on at 7 and there was a show at 8 on Thursdays. And I think it was on Thursdays. About the only place Donald Trump could actually go this weekend and have any sort of a normal time. I mean, I hope he doesn't. What's wrong with my A this morning? Oh. The A in Mayreen was a little dicked up. Oh, it's backwards on there. I didn't realize that. Can I flip it? Nope, we don't want to do that. Mirrored. There. I changed it on Clapper. So now you can actually read 2nd Marine Division when you look at it. Clarifying mass in the White House situation. Yeah. Ooh. Um, the billionaires that supported Donald Trump in this election appear to have lost $210 billion since election day, and they don't appear to be feeling that. Oh, I can't tell if you're being a smartass or not, but okay. Did I not explain it? Yeah, here, USAID cuts unconstitutional. Oh, she cheated. There's no way she won in Georgia, dog. CC, there's no way Marjorie Taylor Greene won in Georgia. She also cheated in that election. Speaking of cheating, where in the world are the results of investigations into the 2024 US elections per Executive Order 13848? Where are those investigations? I'd like to think there are people that worked on those investigations that aren't compromised, that still have all of that information. I'm hoping every single person that worked on that got a copy and it's tucked away somewhere. And then obviously, I think the story of the day yesterday. A lot of people are saying this is like the turning point. So, yeah, yeah, that's literally what I just said. Chief Supreme Court Justice John Roberts yesterday in a rare public statement from a Supreme Court justice to the President of the United States publicly. Said Don, ignoring a court order is can't help you. You know what I mean? Like he basically called Donald Trump out, which never fucking happens. That's not how the Supreme Court works. But for the Supreme Court to step out and say, "Listen, Don, this shit ain't gonna fly with you ignoring fucking court orders," and it had to do with the attack on Venezuelans, um, where Donald Trump had like I think like 40 Venezuelan people illegally deported. Apparently, like while the plane was in the air, he was told turn that shit around, and he did not do that. Um, Again, I've felt like since Donald Trump has been in office this time around that he's been even more ineffective than he was prior. Like the first time he was in office, he didn't do shit. He ain't doing shit. Like what he's doing is akin to like writing people nasty messages. Incorrect response. What do you mean, S&M? And where are they? What can they do to DJT? Who? Yes, I saw that. That was like a week and a half ago, CC, where Donald Trump was like shaking all these Supreme Court justices' hands, and uh, Amy Coney Barrett was just like, "Oh my God!" It probably was the smell, if we're being really honest about the face that she made. While it did appear that she was holding, oh, just a touch of disgust, for Donald Trump, the look on her face though was it was more than just disappointment. It was, what the fuck is that smell? God, Donald. Ugh. In addition to the mortifying feeling that you fucking enabled this shit, right? Yeah. Roberts told Trump impeachment was an incorrect response to the judge. Yeah, because Donald Trump wanted to impeach a judge that ruled against him. Yeah, like can't do that shit, Don. Oh. In terms of police officers going out and guarding Teslas, after Donald Trump pardoned all those violent January Sixers that assaulted and resulted in the death of multiple police officers, including many after the fact to suicide, and you show up to work as a police officer and will go stand in front of a Tesla dealership, you are literally handing yourself to your oppressors. And hey, if you're part of the working class, you've known for a long fucking time that the police are not on your side. The police work to protect property. Nothing more evident than watching them all stand in front of Teslas, in front of a Tesla dealership. Sandy Backham said it was all his plan, that he intentionally did it knowing he would challenge them. She said the video that was made before they landed, it was a different set of people. Huh. What can judges do to Donald if he doesn't comply? No idea. Legal stuff? Hey, by the way, here's a petition that everyone should sign for the removal of Chuck Schumer. Keep this in mind, okay? The boycott is on contributing funds to the Democratic Party until Chuck Schumer is removed as a minority leader. Um, yeah, you want to challenge the Supreme Court. Oh, here's Columbus, Nebraska. People are shouting tax the rich in a heavily Republican district. But yeah, for those of you considering a protest, Donald Trump will be in Philadelphia this weekend at the NCAA Wrestling Championships. And for the record, you know what makes this particularly what pisses me off about this? The reason Donald Trump will be at this wrestling tournament this weekend is it because it will be predominantly white. I'm going to say it again. The reason Donald Trump is able to comfortably attend this NCAA wrestling tournament this weekend is because he presumes that it's going to be predominantly white. As someone who wrestled for years from kindergarten on, that I've actually wrestled out of the United States. I wrestled in Japan when I was in middle school. Understand what I'm saying? Like, if somebody like got pretty deep ties to the wrestling community, he's going to that event because he thinks it's going to be predominantly white. I'm just here to tell you, as someone who tried to wrestle Division 1 and was at Purdue and tried out for the wrestling team and got thrown around like a fucking rag doll. He's gonna be sorely disappointed when he is not well received this weekend. Now, considerable percentage of the coaches, considerable percentage of the people that are working behind the scenes, sure. But as far as wrestlers, people that are actually on these wrestling teams, oh honey, if you think the greatest athlete and wrestler at the weight class at your college is a fucking white boy, you got new shit coming. Okay? I'll put it like this. When I tried to wrestle in high school, okay? When I tried or college, sorry, when I tried to wrestle in college, I wasn't even wrestling the black man that was the number 1 in my weight class at Purdue. I was wrestling the kids he was beating their ass and they were beating my ass. White boys. Strong like a ox and shit, can't do anything with them, and also fast as fuck, and they'd throw you around like a fucking rag doll. Like I said, those weren't even the starters. Those were the guys that prepared starters. So again, mistakenly, Donald Trump is attending this wrestling meet this weekend in Philadelphia, presuming that it's mostly white and that it's mostly fair winds for him. And again, I'm just saying, wrestlers are more likely anarchists than they are Republicans. So just throwing this out there. And normally I'd be watching that wrestling tournament. Probably not. Ooh. Here's Emmanuel Macron being a leader, and that's gonna piss off. That's gonna piss off Donald Trump. Yeah, I want to say something about this job that I applied for. So keep this in mind. So I applied for to be a head coach at a football program in Northwest Indiana. It's a 1A school. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's 90 minutes from Chicago and 90 minutes from Indianapolis. Fortunately for me, it's like super close to Lafayette, Indiana, which is where I went to college. So it's kind of in my backyard. Okay. But I would have to sell my house and move. Like a huge undertaking, right? We had a meeting. I sent the customary follow up to that. Hey, thank you very much for the opportunity to be considered for the job. And hey, based on our conversation, here's some recommendations I have. Look forward to hearing from you. And I haven't heard anything. Okay. It's been, however, whenever that interview was. In that time frame, since that interview, my head coach got fired from his head coaching job. The guy that I worked for, his name's Quasi Clark. Okay, he got fired. In that time frame, I've been contacted by the school he left. Before I heard back from the little 1A school that I applied to go work for. I just think that's kind of fucking funny. For the record, the reason I didn't work this past year at Traders Point Christian School, thank God, because that Traders Point Christian Church is like, if you ever want to get into a Googling situation where you learn a lot about the decisions that I make, Google yourself some Traders Point Christian Church here in Indiana and have fun with that shit and understand why I didn't work there and I didn't push it. When I went to apply for the job listing said must be a Christian. And I was like, oh, hell no. And then when I went to my head coach and I said, hey, it says I got to be a Christian in order to apply. He did not defend me. He defended his religion. And he demanded that even if I don't believe, that I go to church with him and let him take me to his pastor and have him pray for me, us, and that he would vouch for me. And I told him to kick rocks. Not a fucking chance. Um, and would only ever like watch their film and make recommendations to the head coach. Um, and handle the sort of the back end of their program. Um, so no, not considering that job at fucking all. Hard pass. But they did fire that person. They fired that head coach, Quasi Clark. Um, and that's unfortunate because I felt like he wanted to retire from there. But I'm also sort of relieved for him that he's not there and he'll have to go like get another job coaching. He can't not coach. Can't afford it. Um oh, and in case anyone knows and wanted to know how hard is it to be a teacher? The My first head coach was a coach and teacher for 20 plus years. Because teachers don't get paid like real dollars. They get paid pennies on the dollar. Stop fucking with me. Um Based on what they should be making, that they have to teach. They have to coach football. So they have to coach sports in order to pay bills. So yeah, I would definitely take. uh, I seriously have to consider taking the job in Northwest Indiana, um, and moving my wife and I hours away. I would do that. hmm Yeah, because want these kids. I want any kids that don't have like a great coach to have me as their coach. I'm glad it's me and it's not someone else. And that's because I don't know the other candidates that were for this job. But naturally, I'd put myself up against any candidate. Put my resume, my football knowledge, and acumen against anyone. hmm You might know some words, I don't know. But in terms of being a play caller and a decision maker on the field of play, like in the shit, that's my shit. That's what I do. Is I go into the fight, into the fray. I want that shit. I want to be on the field. Mostly, you know why? You know mostly why I like being a football coach? I don't wear a whistle and I don't yell. When kids make mistakes, I'm like, "Darn." Um when I talk to my kids, I'm not like, "Y'all made all these mistakes and that's why we lost." Instead, I'm like, "Look how good we did. Look how much we improved." Um It's hard to feel that when you're staring at the scoreboard. That's why I'm a big fan of turning off your scoreboard real quick, win or lose. Understand that what happens on game day is a reflection of what you did all of the other 6 days of that week. And that win or fucking lose, still got to get up tomorrow, lick your wounds, and prepare for the next fight. And the thing about these kids is that this program doesn't need a disruptor. They don't need someone that comes in and is all loud and fucking angry and shit. They don't need that. This program actually didn't need to lose its head coach in my eyes. In my personal opinion. The personal and I'm the kind of person that tells people what happens on Friday nights a reflection of what you do on all the other days. You know? And like those people that interviewed me, they asked me like, how would you structure your practices? And I said, well, I have a day job. I'm assuming I'm going to be at work for a little bit or having to work right as they get out of school. And it's in their best interest to make sure that they get their homework done. You just got out of school. We're going to have study table. And I want you to make sure you button up your homework before you change over, get ready to go out onto a football field and practice and shit. Why? Because I don't want you to come to me during a practice or a walkthrough or a game and say I can't participate because of my grades or I got something to do for school that I didn't get done, right? I'm going to make sure these kids understand, hey, you know what they didn't tell me when I was in high school? And it didn't apply to me, so I'm glad they didn't tell me. You have to have a 3.5 GPA to go to college where you want to go. If you want to play sports at a specific college, GPA 3.5 or higher in order to get in and to expect to be able to be a part of that program at the next level, it's your GPA. It's yes, it's your ability to play sports. But here's what they're looking for. They're looking for year-round athletes. They're looking for kids that play football, basketball, and track. Why? Because they got to see you out of uniform, right? Doing something else at a high level. Run, throw, jump, don't matter. And again, it all starts in the weight room, right? So I'm one of those rare head coaches that will show up for the morning workouts. I'm gonna work my ass out too. And then I'll see you after school, after study table, then we can talk football, right? But you have to take care of the things that matter first, right? And I think there's a lot of head coaches that will never show up and have a morning workout. They aren't as tuned in to what these kids need after school, which is a fucking meal and some time to get their homework done. And then we need to spend some time teaching this game and teaching everyone what to do. And I'm also one of those rare coaches that I played multiple positions at a high level. I played quarterback and tight end in college at a Division One program, 1 year each. That's a fuckload. I also punted and kicked when I was in high school and went to camps and shit like that. And if you think about what do teams have to fucking have in order to be any good, you got to be able to punt and kick and throw. That's them some fucking things that you got to be able to do on a football team, right? Yeah, Angie, we talked about that the other day when it happened, about the U.S. government declaring somebody deceased that wasn't and taking money, taking $5,000 out of their account. Yep. You see, you notice who they're attacking? You notice who they're attacking first? It's the people that can't defend themselves. Think about it. Anti-trans bills, right? Attacking Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP. They're attacking the people that can't defend themselves. No, it's all good, Ange. I was just saying, like, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty tough shit. Yep. That's like their whole that's like their whole shtick, you know? And that's why I try to be supportive and say get out and protest and shit, is because or the means of, but they don't have that either. And so they're not worried about, so that's why you got to protest, is you're protesting for the people that can't. You're marching for the people that can't do that. I'm raising my voice for all of the people that can't. All of the people on active duty right now. All of the federal government employees that can't speak right now. All of the people that are a part of these marginalized groups that can't speak because they're going to catch too much shit. And here's what I'll tell you. Those motherfuckers are cowards, bro. Guess who does not catch shit? Guess who does not get confronted? Guess who never has to deal with threats in my fucking DMs my whole life? Because they're actually cowards. They're just fucking bullies and punk ass motherfuckers that will never say shit nor do shit. They just talk a lot of shit. And I want to end the show. So before we play the last part, what's up, Demon of Gods, Scorpion King in my fucking clapper chat. Um, Again, as I've said many times, control what you can control. Don't let these motherfuckers get to you. Um, get 8 hours of sleep a night. Take a nap. You probably need it. Drink water. Eat right. It's probably, again, I've been telling people work out. It's time to exercise. Okay? Time to get fucking moving. It's time to change your attitude about this and be a more active participant in this resistance. I gotta ask you to do more than delete Facebook, Threads, IG, Messenger, WhatsApp, Twitter, and Amazon off your fucking phone. Good to go? Do more than that. And again, part of the reason we protest, part of the reason we're driven to protest, boycott, and strike is for the people that cannot. And I've been one of those people. I've been one of those people that could not go protest, right? First protest on the 5th, I went out there to my car and it had been raining and overnight it snowed and the moisture froze on my car and my electric start wouldn't work. It was too cold and my doors were frozen shut. The next protest, I went out there and my fucking battery was dead in my car. Now, fortunately, I was able to get a battery charger, get my battery charged, go to the veterans protest on March 14th. But I missed a couple protests that I wanted to fucking go to, that I meant to fucking get to, that I even left my house, locked the dogs up and everything. I was ready to go. That's who you're protesting for. You're protesting for me when I can't fucking go, right? But yeah, I want to make sure I point that out. I ain't never getting no fucking death threats. Ain't nobody talking shit to me. And that's how you know they can be defeated. They won't even challenge me. I'm not even on their radar. I probably use too big of words. If I'm being honest, I probably just use too big of words. And it distracts them and confuses them. And also, I'm like, I look like a normal human being, and there's not really a lot you can make fun of. You know what I mean? Like, at least I can grow a beard. You know what I mean? What kind of sign to protest with? Oh, Elon Musk is a terrible president. That's still a great sign. But the shirt that I want says few people want capitalism, the rest of us just want a living wage. So yeah, listen to Eat the Rich. Start the show on Eat the Rich, end on or start the show on war, what is it good for? End on Eat the Rich. By the way, we hit a new high number in our chat today. Yeah, I hope I hear back too. At least get told no or something. Hey, the where the dog scratched my face isn't as big. F Elon, yeah, I like that one too. The more succinct, the better. Elon Musk is a terrible president. Mm-hmm. I also like F Elon. Here's a link to 270 different signs. I like this one. And make sure you pick up your tool and resist. I like that. Justice is what love looks like in public. I like that one. It's a good sign too. This is Justice's waiting room. You could also make your own Justice's waiting room t-shirts. Although Justice's waiting room at a protest would be like a propo, right? Like that's actually appropriate at a protest. Justice's waiting room. Because aren't we all? Anyway, love y'all. Have a good day. Still 22 people in here. Call your congressman. Flood Chuck Schumer's office with calls to resign.